Hey, everybody, this is Chuck Pressberg from Press Check Training and Consulting again. If you have not watched video one, where I go over radio and communications connectors and their nomenclatures and their interfaces and everything, you probably need to go back and watch that video. It's public. It's on my YouTube channel. I know it's about 23 minutes long, and it's nerdy, but it's not that nerdy. And it explains all of the interfaces of all the stuff that we are going to actually be hooking up right now. So before we go into actual hands-on, we have to talk about the kind of the philosophy of what we've got going on. Meaning, I have a communications setup, whatever that is, and I have a way to talk on it and hear it. So that could be walkie-talkie style. Like I have it on my belt, on a pouch. The volume is up high enough that I can hear it. And if I want to talk to somebody, I pick it up and I hit the PTT or push to talk button. Covey leader to Raven. Talk to me, Johnny. Okay. Not optimal in a tactical environment. Even if you've got your radio up here, you are omnidirectional broadcasting the audio signature of your radio. For patrol, fire, EMS, all of that, you have the ability to put the radio somewhere on your belt, whatever, and you've got a speaker and a microphone. On a lot of lapel mics, especially for LE, because they might be running numbers on a perp or something like that, suspect getting, running them through the system. For whatever reason, they don't have a tough book. They're not hooked in, whatever. So most lapel mics will have some type of single port on them that will allow you to run an earpiece. So you're still using the PTT to transmit, but you're receiving in one ear what is coming over the radio, so that if you are conducting interview with the suspect and it comes back, they have a bunch of warrants and cut a nun's head off or whatever, they don't hear it and immediately go to guns on you. When we talked about connectors, we mentioned a little bit about the commercial plugs, but you need to be very careful when you start looking at options on what you're going to use to understand what these ports are. This is a 2.5 millimeter port, and this 2.5 millimeter port only allows for audio out. So even if I got some type of high-speed conversion crossing the streams from my gas mask and then the outgoing signal from my microphone, I crossed over the pins, did whatever I had to do, and I plugged it in here. This microphone or this lapel system is not set up to receive input from anything other than the microphone on the front. It's only designed to transmit from here and then cut off the audio noise when it detects that the audio noise needs to go somewhere else, covert or surveillance earpiece. So keep that in mind. You've got a respirator or you're wearing a gas mask, but you're not in assault configuration. It creates problems. You cannot seamlessly transition from your day-to-day communications to mask-supported communications. Now, if you had a voice box, also called a VPU, voice projection unit, you could undo the microphone, stick it directly in front of your VPU and key it, and you're just going to sound really distorted and kind of jacked up. So I'm not saying that you can't get around lack of an integrated communications posture, but it makes everything that much harder. As soon as you go to some type of higher level PPE, everything becomes more difficult. So you either have to have a dedicated setup that goes all the way down to the radio. So from radio all the way up to gas mask, set up just for that, or you have to have a setup. Your everyday setup has to be modular enough that you can swap out some items along the chain and get a clean signal. What you want optimally is the microphone inside of the filtration system of your PPE. That way, you're removing all of the Darth Vader aspect of it. There's no distortion in your voice. It's coming straight out and hitting the microphone. It allows you to speak at a lower volume. So if you're doing an approach, clearing through a structure that you gassed after a barricade job or whatever, and you're going through there doing business and you need to make a call, you can key up, and from inside of your mask, speaking at a very low tone, you can be extremely easy to hear. So let's talk about microphones in masks. They are purpose-built. So the OPSCORE SOTR, they have a base model mask, and then they have a mask that they have integrated a communications capability into the mask. Avon and I believe MSA have also got versions of their masks. Now we're talking full, chemical, biological gas masks. They have a capability built into them. So this is a microphone, and it is actually derived from the multiple articulated jointed metallic metal commercial pilot headset boom mics, not the flexi ones like we have on our tactical stuff. Not like that. From the old school, came down, jointed, and then the mic was set right in front of your face. So that's where this came from. When you get a voice projection unit, and not all Avon masks use the same voice projection unit. The C50 and the C53 masks use different voice projection units in them, but I believe they share the same speaker design. So when they cast and make the gas mask, they have pass-through for cabling, and that prevents any type of breaking of seal around the mask. So this microphone isn't plugging into anything on the outside. It's plugging in to a port integrated into the mask. And then there's some cabling or whatever, and then there's a port on the outside of the mask. So you have a connector inboard, you have a connector outboard, and then you have the rest of your radio chain to get communications chain to get to your PTT or however you're going to do it. Okay. So I do not have a 53 here currently with me, but I do have 53 voice projection unit. Okay. Amplifier. This thing works without a radio. When you turn it on, it has a battery. When you turn this thing on, when you talk into the microphone, it amplifies your voice and broadcasts it out as a speaker. I tried to find a nomenclature for this plug setup that they have, and I could not find it. What Avon has going on here, though, is your Nexus 2-pin 170 series that we talked about in the other video, but they've added a third arm there to add rigidity to this system and to keep it from getting sheared off. So they're trying to protect some of the communications port pins with another pin that's dead. It doesn't do anything. So when I take a Nexus 172 2-pin and I say, that spacing looks kind of like whatever, ta-da, it works. So 3 prongs, but only two connectors. So it's a modification of the Nexus 170 series 2-pin, which is cool. That's fine. It's especially fine because when you go off mask, it reverts back to the industry standard. So it basically has a 172 female on the outside. So this voice box would lock onto the gas mask and it would plug into the gas mask. And so these male pins are receiving information from that mic on the inside and sending it to the voice box. But it has the ability for you to plug a 173 into the outside of it and remote that microphone transmission to a something else, radio. How we get to the radio, that's where we're going from here. So whether it's OPSCORE SOTR or Avon or whatever, your mask is more than likely going to have an ability to hook a 2-pin Nexus to it and then remote that information. Now, there's a couple different ways we could do this, and it's all equipment dependent. So that's why we're doing the hands-on portion right now. So let's look at Peltor ComTac 3, dual comms version. All right, dual comm version. I know my pigtails are a little short. I had these professionally redesigned. Peltor comes with some really, really long leads that go down. And because my PTTs are normally here, having all of that extra cabling is just a snag hazard. So I actually had, from the motherboard, I had the cord pulled in, cut, and re-soldered to the motherboard on the inside to give me a reduced length on my headset. I did not always carry 2 radios, but I always carried dual comm because I was either in a vehicle or in a helicopter or in an airplane, and there were opportunities for me to tie into some type of vehicle intercom system, depending on my duty position, how many of them were available, a bunch of other variables. So the boom mic does not need to be removed on the Peltor, like physically removed. So I can remove the Nexus 173 out of the back and put the Peltor on and just leave the mic, do that with it, whatever, and plug into the back. It has been some people's experience, and it varied based off of generation of ComTac, radios that were being used, whatever. Places where I'd worked, we had issues with sending the signal into the Peltor and then out of the integrated line, which has audio in and out. So stuff going to the speakers going up, stuff coming from the microphones going down. The U93 pigtail, it has these insulators. So the black lines are separating the silver lines. So the tip, that's one electrical connection. The next one down, that's an electrical connection. Next one down, that's an electrical connection. So even though it's a single plug, it's the equivalent to having multiple pins. So there's audio in and audio out inside of this system, okay, inside of this plug. But something about taking this speaker and this wire and plugging it in where this boom mic used to be resulted in not as consistent of good audio quality. So organizations that use masks a lot had TEA, Television Equipment Associates, manufacture the Davies PTT, but add a U172 on the outside. So we could Nexus 2-pin and skip the Peltors altogether, or skip the Sordens, or skip the whatever, the earpieces, the whatever. So we could go gas mask straight down to the PTT. And when the PTT got this information, it would ignore any microphone input that was coming in through the pigtail. So the pigtail was still providing audio out to whatever your system is, but it's getting the audio in directly from the gas mask. Voila, just like this. Very expensive setup. This PTT coiled 6-pin U92 and U172, probably just under $700. They were not cheap. Oh wait, and it's got a Hiroshi breakaway on this side. So yeah, definitely an expensive PTT. Also, dual comm Peltor with 2 leads for 2 radios. So if I'm going to go from the gas mask straight into my PTT, now my microphone is tied to one of my 2 nets. That's where the Y jumper came in. This is 2 of these spliced together. So when I was in a CBurn training environment or whatever, voice box, gas mask, 2 leads. So I'll go ahead and set it up for you guys right now. And there we are. So I've got gas mask and 2 radios, pretending 2 radios. So if my right radio net calls me, I'm getting audio into this headset only, input. If this radio net calls me, I get audio input to this headset only. So I know what net just called for me over the radio. If I want to respond back to that net, I just reach for the push to talk that is on the side of my kit that I heard the noise. And when I click that push to talk button, my splitter cable coming from my gas mask transmits the audio out to that PTT, and I'm going out clean from the microphone inside of my gas mask back out on whatever net that I needed to talk on. So that's your dual comm. Single comm Peltor. Now, I don't have one of the old Comtacs anymore. I don't know where it went, where they went. But on the old Comtacs, the cable, and you guys can see this is what the factory length lead looks like. I did not get these shortened. These are your hot weather Peltors, whatever they call them, Gen 5, Gen 6, whatever. So they've got same thing. Boom mic is removable. So if I know I'm going to go do a hit, there's no reason to keep the boom mic on. It's just getting in the way. I can totally remove the boom mic and take it off of my set because I'm going to be jocking up into full PPE before I go do whatever I'm going to do. But if I'm being a SWAT man or whatever, I don't know that we're necessarily going to go to gas or whatever. So I would have my setup configured like this. And then when they were like, all right, hey, we're about to gas this place. Go ahead, everybody mask up. And then I could make the decision to go ahead and pop my boom mic cable. After I mask up, I pop my boom mic cable, and then I can get after it that way. So if I don't have one of these sexy PTTs that has the Nexus plug into it direct, then my cable has to go from my gas mask boom mic's gone. It's got to go from my gas mask to my voice box, VPU, voice projection unit, excuse me. All right, so gas mask is on. Peltors are on. I don't need my splitter anymore. So my splitter cables can come off. Sorry. 173 to 172, right there. And boom. So, same thing. Somebody calls me on the radio, I call back. Radio goes in through these triple flange earplugs here, which are also the hearing protection on these hot weather Comtacs. They also have 2-pin connections. So I'm getting audio in both ears when I key up, transmitting from the microphone to the VPU, down the cable, into the back of the Peltor, down the comm lead, and to the PTT, and then to the radio. So there's your chain again. Chuck, what if I have I have 2 radios, but I don't have a dual comm system? As long as you can get to the PTT, if you're running a splitter, like a smart PTT to multiple radios or whatever, you're still going to be good. If you're on some low budget PORS crap going on, where you've got one radio chain that's all full tactical, and then you've got another one that's like lapel Mikey, like that, this is where you're going to run into problems. Or what if you have double PTTs, but you don't have these sexy PTTs like this, or maybe you do, but you don't have a Y cable. Although this was manufactured for me, I did find a 173 split to double 173s on an aviation website with about 10 minutes of Google searching. So there are Y cables out there for those of y'all that run 2 radios and have a sexy ass Avon mask. This piece of kit is like gold. But other options, always about giving you guys other options. What if I have a mask that doesn't have an integrated microphone? Wah, wah, wah. That's bad. That's some ratchet ghetto-tasticness. Before I had dual comm units, I used to run an earpiece, and this is a bone conduction earpiece. You can see the little bone conduction mic right there, and it is U93 compatible. So I used to wear this under my Peltor. I used to wear this under my Peltor and then snake the cable out from the bottom of the headset. Where is my contacts? So if I had a set of contacts that were only single pigtail, but I had double radios, so let's just pretend this pigtail isn't here, then this plug, this U93 would go over here, and then this U93 would go over here. And voila, I am still able to monitor 2 nets. So it is what it is. We're going to get to the SOTR last because it's one of the easier ones to integrate. So if you have no mic capability, you're kind of stuck having to go with some type of bone conduction or throat mic. I really believe that is why there are still SWAT teams out there that are using either bone conduction or throat mics, because they are not good for transmission quality. The people wearing throat mics love throat mics. The people listening to people with throat mics hate throat mics. I'm talking to you, D Platoon. in the era of active hearing protection, even if it's in the ear, active hearing protection, having throat mics and bone conduction and whatever is really bad. I had a buddy that was using these, and there was something about his ear design, and these are custom molded to the user. You actually go to a hearing aid shop and have a foam mold taken to get these. So, but he just sounded terrible anytime he was using an earpiece, and he loved it. He loved his earpiece, but it sucked so bad that his boss, our boss, told him he was not allowed to use that thing anymore. So he following the spirit of the law, he got one of our Uniform 172 equipped PTTs. He took a Peltor boom mic. He attached it right there, and he ran it like this, like a microphone. He stuck it up through the molly webbing and had it right here because he hated wearing Peltors. He wanted that ambient outside air, being able to hear the directions of gunfire in the distance, whatever. I mean, he wore Peltors, but as soon as like the loud noises stopped, he was jacking his Peltors off. And listening with just his unamplified hearing. And he didn't like losing his comms when he pulled his Peltors off. So his answer to the Sergeant Major's issues were pigtail into this to an earpiece, and then when he keyed up, Peltor microphone to 172 directly into the push to talk. So gave him a little bit of capability there for sure. So just something for you guys to think about. All right. So we talked about you can be mic'd up down here, earpieced in here. No effect. Mask, no mask, doesn't matter. Comms are not integrated into the mask. But as soon as you go comms integrated into the mask, your ability to be heard is exponentially better because you've got an amplified microphone right in front of your lips. But now you have to have specialty equipment that isn't just laying around on the shelves in the average department or SWAT team or whatever. So you have to make an investment. Fortunately, because most of this that we're talking about is gas mask related, your chances of getting a UASI grant under the CBRN funding line probably are going up pretty good, especially if your tactical gas mask happens to be the same face interface as your PAPR or your SCBA tanks or whatever. So you're running some type of hose system instead of a CS mask, but the mask is the same. That would allow you to do full comms integration where your CBRN mission, hazmat mission is paired up equipment-wise with your riot control agent mask use or antipathogen in this case. Okay, questions so far? Oh, I'm the only one on here because I'm not doing a live Q&A right now. Sorry about that, guys. Down leads. That's the thing that really pisses everybody off is they will spend money on one type of a radio, or they'll find a push to talk that is set up and configured every way that they want, but it doesn't fit the radio that they have. They'll find one of these on eBay, and then it'll be set up for a military radio or something, and there'll be a cop with a Motorola. Now, during the nomenclature thing, I did not talk about side-keyed radios. On military radios, mic ports are on the top. Speaker interfaces, mic ports are on the top. On police radios, because of the channel selections and the footprint, they are almost always going to be some type of side interface. So ignore the fact that this is a keypad display unit, not a push-to-talk. The concept is still sound. So you're going to have some way to attach the radio and the communications interface to the side. The more pins you have, the more separate lines that you can command the radio to do something, whatever. So lots of pins in there. These designs are normally not as environmentally resistant. So that's why military radios have avoided flat panel interfaces, because there's just more surface area for moisture and things to get into before they crap out on you. So your Motorola connector, and they have changed over variations of radio. Your Motorola connector is going to be your long pole in the tent. Now, it might be possible for you to find a surplus unit that has a Hiroshi interface, and then contact a vendor and ask them, hey man, I want you to make, or do you have Motorola flat interface to Hiroshi? And then you're just buying this, stick it on your radio, boop, and you're right back in business. All of that is assuming that the impedance and amplification, dynamic mic versus undynamic mic, all of that is lining up, which was not within the scope of this video. So, for the grand finale, which is what you guys are all here for, the OPSCORE SOTR. So what we got here is an amp. And the amp has a Fisher plug going out. And OPSCORE is going to do like their own PTTs and all that stuff. But they purpose build them to radios. So I told them, I was like, hey man, I don't know what radios I'm going to be needing, using, whatever. Just give me a Nexus pigtail. I'll figure out the PTT part. So I've got a Fisher going out to a U93, which can hook into any of the PTTs that we just talked about. But then on the front of the amp, there is a U72 style recessed port, and next to it is a brass threaded screw hole. So this thing doesn't have a lead. It terminates right into the port. So if I was not doing C-burn stuff or whatever, my boom mic would go in there. Sorry, like that. My boom mic would go in there, and then this screw would be screwed down, and my boom mic would be fixed. So when you take off the boom mic, it opens you up to a 2-port for your 173 to go into. All right. And there we go. I've got the solder set up with the OPSCORE arc rail adapter. They make a generic helmet strap, an arc rail adapter, and a head strap that has a double yoke across the top, comes down, and then has a nape thing, and it's really secure. So you're not tied to having to have your helmet mounted PPE on, but it is an option for you. So step one is you get your helmet strap. Make sure that you've got it adjusted where you want it as far as your placement of your amp head strap or earpieces, excuse me. Then you take your chin strap and you run it under the bottom of your jaw. And I've already pre-adjusted my nape straps and tightened them up for this new location of my helmet strap not being right there on the tip of my chin. Okay. You'll see that I've already pre-connected the 2-pin 173 to the 172 out on the bottom of this OPSCORE SOTR. And then I've got the other end of the 173 plugged into the amp. You'll notice I've got the comms cable coming up and over to kind of clean things up a little bit. I check for my fit, get everything centered up and lined up, and then come across on the other side. And connect. Good seal. Okay, so this is elastic here. I had concerns about my helmet moving and it breaking seal on my mask. But it's got give and take on it. But you do have to have your suspension system snug. You don't want that helmet moving all over the place, especially because you're rocking a single point instead of a dual point of contact on your mask. So now there is a port under here as well. I have not contacted OPSCORE to find out if I put another lead on this side, is this system smart enough to break off the earpieces and give me left comms left side, right comms right side? I don't know. Probably a good thing that I'm retired and don't really have to live or die by this kit anymore. So anyway, guys, that I don't want to keep this video too long. That covers everything that I can think of as far as your basic configurations of the various setups that you're going to find out there and some of your ways to deal with them. You go to war with the gear you've got, not the gear you wish you had. You need to figure out how to make it work. A Safariland 6390 for a red dot gun with light is going to give you the best capability if you're doing an entry and it's dark and your rifle quits working. Pull out the pistol, turn on the flashlight, red dot sight, and you're right back in business. You have very, very little reduction in your capability. That to me is what a fully integrated communication system brings me when we take communications and PPE and we force them together. If you don't have any plan for how you're going to talk on the radio when somebody tells you to put a gas mask on, that's the same to me as having a pistol with no night sights, no red dot, no flashlight, you have no handheld torch, and you have it in a flap holster, and you're walking around with a rifle saying, yeah, I've got a secondary weapon. But do you really? If I turn out all the lights in this room and you have to make target discrimination, low percentage shots inside of this room, and you got a gun with no light, no ability to see your sights, you're posturing. You're posturing that you have a capability that you don't really have with that gun set up in that configuration, with that holster, without external capability. And so if you are running around with two radios and you haven't thought about how you're going to make two radios work, when somebody says gas, 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 you're bullshitting. Stop bullshitting. Invest in yourself and get a capability. And until then, learn how to fight with the capability you got. There might be guys that aren't allowed to have red dots and super flashlights on their pistols or whatever. But until their department changes policy, I guarantee you that dude is practicing being able to get a handheld torch out and various techniques to be able to engage in low light. He doesn't just throw up his hands and say, well, they didn't pay for it. I don't have a holster that supports it. It's out of policy. So F it. I'm just not going to shoot anybody after dark. That's just not how any of this works. So if you're carrying this big brick on your gear and you sound like Mushmouth, you're posturing that you have a communications capability. Remember, communication, sender, receiver, information, feedback. That is the communication cycle. 4 elements of the communication cycle: a sender, a receiver, a message, and the feedback to that message. So if you're running around with a damn radio and the people that are receiving you are getting broken transmissions that are not legible, it's actually worse than you not having any comms at all, because they are going to be distracted. You're in their OODA loop while they're trying to save people's lives, make decisions, earn the big bucks, do the thing. And they are now wasting like proper cognitive decision-making, thinking, the hell did he just say? You like to see guys naked? Yeah, I mean, that's cool. So it's worse. At least if they can't hear from you, they just now have to plan. Like, we don't have comms with Johnny. Okay, let's do something. But very dangerous decisions are made based off of bad information that is sent out over a radio. So if you are mandated by mission requirement to maintain communication with other members of your element, then you need to figure out what that is going to look like for you in a CBRN PPE posture. That's all I got, guys. We did not talk about 2-pin very much, 2-pin Kenwood, but this is very, very easy to get something like this in. 6-pin is just because that's what the DoD is using a lot of. But all of these PTTs and all of their features can be done in anything, in any radio connector. The radio connector is the easy part of it. Smart PTTs are handling impedance. They're handling dynamic microphones. There's a brain box in the smart PTTs that are also going to increase your capability and performance. They just, from a form factor and ergonomics, are not the best. If I have radio over here and a radio over here, I want communications over here and communications over here. I don't want communications in here where all of my workspace, ammo, kill people stuff, mission essential stuff is located. So it is easier to stow cabling if your radios are offset and you're running separate systems as opposed to a single branched system. With that gas mask connector, I would route those things back and then straight down to the PTT, back and then straight down to the PTT to keep everything below about here clean. No cables in here. Of course, that all went out the window when we started doing this crap too. So that's all I got, guys. This is Chuck from Press Check Training and Consulting. I am not a radio nerd. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know, but I've been using a lot of this stuff for a long time, and I prided myself on the fact that I could get comms when other people sounded like complete asshole on the radio. I was carrying the weight. I wanted it to do its job. So that's all I got. If you want to know more or whatever, you can get on my Patreon, patreon.com/Press Check Consulting. You cannot find me on the list on Patreon. They got me shadow banned because of the pro gun content or whatever. So you have to actually you can Google the Press Check Patreon URL and then click on the URL, but you can't go to the Patreon website and then search for Press Check Consulting because I will not come up. You can buy in for as little as $1. I put out, somewhere between 4 and 12 hours of content a month, probably, in terms of videos like this. My YouTube channel, my open YouTube channel, I've constricted the amount of content that I'm putting out there because I'm trying to put more quality into my content, and I'm trying to focus that content on the guys that are supporting, the guys and gals that are supporting me and their needs, the videos that they want to see, the professionals that want to get better. So I suggest you guys come on over and try it out. A lot of good stuff there. Can't wait to get out of this quarantine and start shooting some guns this summer and doing some more gun-related content, which has been largely lacking lately. All right, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is Chuck P. Out.